Namaste everyone. Thank you for joining in this video. So in this video, I want to discuss about the significations of the Atmakaraka in the various houses. Of course, there are a few videos that I've made on the Atmakaraka, including two specific videos on the results of, having Surya and Chandra as Atmakaraka respectively. Okay. So the Atmakaraka, or the AK as we call it, is one of the Charakarakas that are mentioned by Parashara as well as Jaimini. Okay, many people think that the Charakarakas are a Jaimini concept, but it is not the case in reality. Even Parashara mentions the Karakas in the BPHS. Okay, so this Atmakaraka is the planet with the highest degree in the natal chart, and this is the representative of the potential talents and the desires of the soul. Okay, and the house where the Atmakaraka is located, that becomes the focal point for the native's life. That becomes a sphere where the person wants to manifest, himself or herself, realize himself or herself, and where that person is drawn throughout his or her life. Okay, so equally important are the houses ruled by the Atmakaraka, and out of the Navagrahas, in the 8 planets, excluding Ketu, can become the Atmakaraka. Okay, Rahu is of course included in the Atmakaraka scheme, and I've made a detailed video on why you have to include Rahu, although many astrologers and the popular opinion is contrary to Rahu's inclusion. Okay, they think that Rahu should not be included, but there is a very strong reason. Even Parashara mentions the inclusion of Rahu in the BPHS. Okay, and we have to go by what Parashara says rather than what popular modern astrologers say, right? So in general, if the Atmakaraka is in the Trikon houses, that means in the first house, the 5th house, or the 9th house, then the person is going to be very, very lucky, because the Trikon houses are known as the Lakshmi Sthanas. These are the luckiest house in the chart, and even harsh planets like Saturn and Mars as Atmakaraka are going to give you good results. Okay, and for such placements, the native is going to enjoy a lot of luck, success, prosperity, creative prospects. All of this will go into the hands of the native, and the native does not even need to do anything. Okay, everything is going to come on its own. Now, if the Atmakaraka is located in the Kendra houses, okay, in the 1st, 4th, 7th, and 10th houses, then these houses are best for material success. Okay, these are known as the Vishnu Sthanas, and anyone having Atmakaraka in the Kendra houses, such a person will have the opportunity to realize, himself or herself, and have financial abundance and become a bright and famous person in this lifetime. Okay, now what if the Atmakaraka is located in the Upachaya houses? That means in the 2nd, 3rd, 6th, and 11th house, right? So these, location of Atmakaraka in these houses are very beneficial from the point of view of finance, wealth, and savings. Okay, and if you have Atmakaraka in these houses, you are not going to be hungry financially. Okay, your financial needs are going to be satiated. But then Upachaya means the houses that grow with time. Okay, so the first half of life is going to be hardworking. Okay, that means at least till the age of 30, you are going to work very, very hard. And only later, in your late 30s, that means after Saturn matures, after the age of 36, you're going to get the green signal for flying. Okay, so it's a good combination to have, because it gives a lot of growth in the later stages of life. But in the first stages, you have to struggle. Right? Now, what if the Atmakaraka is placed in the Dushthanas? So in Vedic astrology, Dushthanas are considered to be the most difficult houses, because they are least connected with material things, and they represent success in the spiritual activities. Okay, so a person having Atmakaraka in the Dushthanas will be least interested in the in the problems of material existence, and they would be more interested in getting the knowledge of what is beyond the limits of this human life. Okay, now 6th house is also a Dusthana, but this is an Artha house, so it appears it applies to material gains, material benefits. Okay, and the 12th house is the house of health as well. Okay, the 6th house is also the house of health. So the location of the Atma, for if your Atmakaraka is located either in the 6th house or the 12th house, health is going to be a very important point for you. is going to be a very important focal point of you during the, during your time on this planet. Okay, so what if the Atmakaraka, how does the Atmakaraka behave if it is located in the various houses, right? So if it is if it is in the first house, then the person is going to be very self-centered. Okay, the person would want to take the first place in everything. Like, say Venus is the Atmakaraka in the first house, then such a person would want to be Mr. Universe or Miss Universe. The sense of self is going to be very, very prominent. Okay, for example, person having Atmakaraka as Jupiter in the first house, so such a person would want to be the best teacher or the best husband. Similarly, if the sun is in the first house as Atmakaraka, it means the person would be a born leader, at least in his or her friend circle or social circle. So the placement of the Atmakaraka in the first house is all about personal development, to become the best version of yourself and to be the first among the first in your activities. Okay. Now, if Atmakaraka is in the second house, then such a person is going to enjoy work, okay, working for the sake of pleasure, working for the sake of money, stability, working for the sake of material benefits. And for people having this placement of Atmakaraka in the second house, they think that, work is pleasure, and work, this pleasure makes life good. And these people will usually have a very strong connection with the family in which he or she is born. Okay. Now, if the Atmakaraka is located in the third house, then you have to understand that the focus is going to be human energy and effort. Okay, it is all the time you are going to focus on making your own luck. Okay, on thinking about what life is going to bring next to you. And if you have Atmakaraka in this house, then there is a lot of traveling that you're going to be involved in. There is a lot of traveling that you will be a part of for the purpose of knowledge, for the purpose of development, communication, as well as for some kind of pleasure seeking pastime. Remember, there are people who travel for pleasure, and I've seen people who take traveling as a hobby. They have this Atmakaraka in the third house. Okay, now what if the Atmakaraka in the fourth house? Now, fourth house is the heart of the horoscope. Okay, remember, fourth house represents the human heart and nerves, and depending on the planet that is assigned the role of the Atmakaraka, you can understand whether a person's psyche is strong or weak. Okay, whether the person has or does not have the ability to love. Okay, and if you have Atmakaraka in the fourth house, then you are going to be attached to your mother, if not by heart, then by fate. Okay, education is going to be important, but not as self-development. Okay, but you would be more interested in going to various educational institutes or the best educational institutes and getting diplomas and various degrees. Okay, and of course, real estate is going to be very, very significant. Real estate is going to play a very important role in your life. The desire to have your own home or buy your own property is going to be very, very strong for you if you have this Atmakaraka in the fourth house. Okay, now what about Atmakaraka in the fifth house? In that case, the recurring themes are going to be creativity, intellectual abilities, romantic relationships, art, talents, and children. And I always say that it is one of the best placements for the Atmakaraka to be in here, because the fifth house represents Purva Punya, or the past life good deeds that you have done. And the location of Atmakaraka, any Atmakaraka from Sun to Rahu, is going to bless you with a lot of positive qualities here. Okay, now if you have the Atmakaraka in the sixth house, then your energy is going to be directed towards combating everyday worries, overcoming one difficulty after the other, and breaking one habit after the other. And I've seen people having Atmakaraka in the sixth house. They're very quick in creating enemies. Okay, for example, having subdued some enemies, some new ones are going to appear. Okay, they are quick to take loans, and once they pay off their debts, then some new debts arise. Okay, so sixth house is always going to be very, very tricky. And there is a video that I've made on the on the 8th house and the 12th house. I'm going to make a video on the 6th house. So this 6th house is the house of service. So the person is going to be very very service oriented, and would believe in creating or being the master or being the architect of his or her own destiny. Okay, Now, what if the Atmakaraka is located in the 7th house? In that case, the person is going to be revealed in partnerships. Okay. This person won't be able to act alone. And depending upon the planet being the Atmakaraka, the nature of the interaction will be clear. For example, Jupiter gives very wise interactions, reliable partners. Mercury is going to give inexperienced partners who have a fickle mind, who are not constant. Saturn gives partners who are tough and domineering. Okay. So this is more about being in synchronization with your partner to create the life you want for yourself. Okay. Now, what if the Atmakaraka is in the 8th house? Then, expect your life to be unexpected. Expect that you're not, peace is going to be a far-fetched thing. And 8th house makes your life, Atmakaraka's placement in the 8th house makes your life very, very interesting, very, very unstable. Okay. But then that is the way you have to function in this world, in this lifetime. And at some point, you are bound to be seized by a shackling fear, and you will want to stop whatever you are doing. Okay. But you will be more drawn to adventures in unknown worlds, in unknown dimensions. Okay. So if you have such a position, then you have to embrace your uncertainties. Okay. Because you never know what awaits you around the next turn of life. Okay. Now, what if you have Atmakaraka in the 9th house? So this is like being this is like being born with a golden spoon. Okay, everything becomes possible for you if you have Atmakaraka in the 9th house, because now the soul's purpose is to fulfill the dharma of this birth. Okay, so if you run into problems, of course, as a human being, you're going to run into problems. But if you run into problems, you can solve those problems without much effort. Okay, and such a person is always going to live with faith in himself or herself, in the faith in higher powers. And remember, for these people, the higher powers will always be ready to help them, to help him or her. And it's, as I said, along with the 5th house, it's a wonderful position to have the Atmakaraka in the 9th house. And there are always going to be people nearby who are going to help you, who are going to, show you the right direction, prompt you towards following the right direction. Okay. What if the Atmakaraka is in the 10th house? In that case, status and achievement becomes the primary focus for that person. Okay. And the energy of the planet that becomes the Atmakaraka will be aimed at achieving maximum success in the area of work, in the area of, in the area that brings you respectability, that brings you admiration from all around the corner. Okay. So this is, it indicates a great desire to make a huge career, earn lots and lots of money, become successful as well as influential. Okay. So becoming influential is a very strong desire for people who have this Atmakaraka in the 10th house. Okay. Now, in the 11th house, the recurring theme is going to be about friends. Okay. And because the 11th house is a Trishadaya house, that means a negative house, such a person may suffer from some kind of laziness. Such a person may decide not to work at all and receive finances just like that from his or her friends and like-minded people. And remember, 11th is a very material house, and having the Atmakaraka in the 11th house means that the person can create a business and make a profit out of it. Okay. But then, because the 11th house is the house of networking, so this business will be possible only with friends or associates. It is not going to work for you alone. Okay. Now, in the 12th house, the focus would be of the Atmakaraka would be to make you live a double life. Okay. So for example, I've seen people having Atmakaraka in the 12th house being very secretive, and they really have something to hide, like an affair or like their bank balance and so on. And they'll always like to be alone with himself or herself. Okay. They would feel that time is always flying from them. And Atmakaraka, remember, it is the significator of the soul. So the soul is going to enjoy the expanses of the universe where there are no worldly rules and incomprehensible values. Okay. Now, if you have this placement, then there will always be people around you who are crippled by life, and you will be very, very enthusiastic to save them, to put them out of their misery, to help them put their life on track with concrete deeds done for their benefits. Okay. So this is about the Atmakaraka and the results of the Atmakaraka in the 12th house. Do let me know if you could resonate with this, and I'll see you soon in my next video. Namaste. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not done that already, and please share it with your friends and family if you find it useful. I'll see you soon. Om Gurave Namaha.